All right, let's talk about something that seems super simple, but is actually a huge deal for digital accessibility. The order of stuff on a web page. Why does that even matter? You know what? Instead of me just telling you, let's try a little experiment. Okay, so first up on the screen, we have this phrase, affects its meaning. Kind of hanging there, right? Doesn't give us much to go on. Let's add another piece to the puzzle. The next part is, when the sequence. Okay, the words are starting to show up, but it's still a jumble. It doesn't quite make sense yet, does it? And here's our final piece in which content is presented. So now you have all the parts, but your brain is the one doing the work, trying to stitch them together in the right order. A little confusing, wasn't it? That little bit of mental work you just did, that feeling of, wait, what? That is exactly what millions of people experience when web content isn't structured in a logical order. It's not just a small annoyance, it can make a page completely unusable. So, how do we fix that? Well, thankfully, there are rules for this. That's where the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, you'll often hear it called WCAG, come in. We're going to zoom in on one specific rule, Success Criterion 1.3.2. And it's all about something called a meaningful sequence. So here's the official rule, straight from the W3C. I know it sounds a little dense, right? Programmatically determined. But trust me, the idea behind it is actually super simple. It basically says if the order of your content is important for understanding it, like our jumbled sentence, then the code itself has to know the correct order. Let's break that down. What on earth does programmatically determined even mean? Think of it this way. The correct order is baked right into the website's code. It's not about how pretty it looks on the screen, it's about the blueprint underneath. This way, any software or assistive technology can just read that blueprint and present everything in the right order, no guesswork needed. Now, here's a really important catch. Not all sequences are meaningful. Think about a recipe. You absolutely have to measure the ingredients before you mix them. The order is critical. That's a meaningful sequence. On the other hand, imagine a news site. You've got the main article and then a sidebar with some related stories links. You can read those in any order you want, and it doesn't change the meaning of anything, right? That's a non-meaningful sequence. So this rule only kicks in when the order is absolutely essential. Okay, this might all sound like some geeky, behind-the-scenes stuff just for developers, but the impact of getting this right or wrong is massive. This isn't just about writing tidy code. It is, at its heart, all about people. And to really get why this is so important, we have to talk about assistive technology. This is just a broad term for any tool, any piece of hardware or software that helps people with disabilities use the digital world. It's the bridge that can make the internet accessible for everyone. So who exactly relies on this hidden order in the code? Well, you've got people who are blind using screen readers. That's software that literally reads a web page out loud. You've got folks with cognitive or learning disabilities who might use text-to-speech tools. It even affects people using screen magnifiers because a magnifier often follows the code's path to move around the screen. For every single one of these users, if the code is a mess, the information they get is a mess. Simple as that. And that really gets to the whole point of this, doesn't it? The goal is so simple. The meaning that you see with your eyes should be the exact same meaning that someone else hears through their device. A sighted user can just glance at a page and figure out the order, but someone using assistive tech is trusting the code to be their guide. We need to make sure that guide isn't leading them astray. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the why. Now let's get our hands dirty with the how. How do we actually make sure we're getting this right in the real world? Let's use a super common example, a 2-column layout on a web page. You and I, we just naturally know to read all the way down the first column, then hop back up to the top of the second one. That flow needs to be built into the code. A screen reader has to be told, okay, finish column 1 completely. Now you can go to the top of column 2. It seems so obvious to us, but it's incredibly easy to mess up in the code. And this is where a lot of people trip up. You'll see developers use old tricks like layout tables or some fancy CSS to move things around visually. It might look perfect on the screen, but underneath, the code's reading order gets totally scrambled. The right way is to make sure the code's order, what's often called the DOM order, perfectly mirrors the visual order. A good test is to imagine stripping away all the fancy design. Does the content still read like a logical document from top to bottom? If it does, you're on the right track. Okay, we've covered a lot. But if you walk away with just one thing from all this, what should it be? It all boils down to one single powerful idea, one core principle to remember.
And this is it. This is the golden rule. If the visual order is essential to the meaning, the code order must match it. That's it. If scrambling the items on the screen would confuse someone looking at it, then you have to make sure the code is in that same correct order. It's the only way to make sure everyone is reading the exact same story.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. For the websites you work on, the apps you build, the content you create, is it telling its story in the right order for everyone?